interest in dog behaviour and how dogs think and how their brains function, and how we can then utilise that in working with them, because we've got so many people with so many dogs now. And, you know, like you've said, Ian, on many occasions, our expectations of dogs are so much higher, and the living environments that we put them in are so different to what we had when I was growing up. You know, we had a dog in the backyard, but it was allowed in the house, but there was always somebody home.
Yeah.
These days, it's, you know, everybody works and they work longer hours, and, you know, our expectations of dogs living in really, really, really busy urban areas, but also being left alone for long periods of time. You know, that's not what we.
No, and it's a funny one, isn't it? Like we do. I've said it many, many times. We put a lot of pressure on our dogs to conform to a lifestyle that has never meant. It's very unnatural. You see it with people as well. People are breaking down more and more these days with the lifestyles they're trying to achieve.
Well, it's true. It's, you know, we're moving faster than our adaptability allows us to adapt to. You know, and it's the same with dogs. They're a completely different species. It'd be like putting a monkey in a home environment, which some people do in certain countries, but you can see that goes wrong.
Yeah.
You know, that it's not what we've bred them to do. We haven't had them domesticated long enough to adjust to our expectations.
Let alone, like, you know, so many of these breeds, dogs in general, they're still classified as to what we were breeding them for. You know, like the herding hounds, you know, working dogs, their brains were being bred for, and still are, essentially, being bred for purpose. And in the last 20 years, that purpose just isn't there anymore for our pet dogs, and you can see their brains are breaking in their behaviour. That's what we're seeing, and they're not, you know, the whole dominance crap. They're not trying to rule the world. They're literally breaking down, and in my opinion, something's got to change. Like either the way we own dogs has got to change, or what we breed for.
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. It's not just what we breed for. Like, their genetic predisposition to behave in certain innate ways is going to be there for generations. You know, it's how it's so deep seated in them.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that they want to behave this way; they just do.
Yeah.
And I think it's about lowering our expectations, but breed selection in regards to the type of dog that you want for your home. Not, I've always wanted.
Yeah.
Or it looks cute.
Yeah. Like, I've always wanted a Lamborghini. I'm not going to buy one.
No, it looks good,
I like
but
that.
it doesn't fit.
It doesn't. You know, it doesn't fit my bank account. And the way I drive, which is really well, by the way, I would be arrested.
We're on camera. And you can't lie.
I'm a good driver, okay?
I know, I'm not saying you're not a good driver, but the amount of times when we're like lift sharing, you're like, you're a bit of a granny. I'm not, but...
Anyway, I think it's, you know, when people decide to breed dogs, you know, they are, especially these days, and I was listening to an audio book this morning that goes through by Dr. Stanley Coren. Have you?
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's awesome. He does amazing audiobooks to listen to, and he makes it really simple for the average person to understand. But what he was talking about in this particular audiobook is how we're breeding for appearance. We're not breeding for behaviour. We're not breeding for temperament, you know, and I mean, you guys must see it a lot now. We're having more dogs with reactive issues. We're having more dogs that are not confident in themselves. You know, they're not confident to move in day-to-day life. And I think that it is because we're breeding for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
We're not breeding for temperament. You know, originally when humans started to domesticate dogs, they bred for temperament. You want that dog that's okay around your family home, around your children and around your animals. We're not doing that anymore. No. We're looking for the cute dog that gives us the big googly eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the longest coat there.
Yeah, and scientifically proven research shows that that's not what we should be breeding for, because changing their aesthetics changes their behaviour. So
Well, that's it. And you end up with dogs that, like I've said it before a minute ago, like, they're broken. Like we're in puppy school these days, and unfortunately, at 8 weeks of age, you can literally just sit there and go, "You're in a world of pain. This is not going to be a good life."
We even look at the dogs from years ago, how for example, bull terrier looked back then to now.
Yeah.
So different.
Yeah.
So different.
Yeah, and this
Crazy what we're doing.
Got friends that are not work, but are in the breeding circles, and they're walking around, and the dog could be losing its absolute shit at another dog, just going off its head, but they're like, "God, look how confident! Look at his body language! Like that's a great top line." I'm like, "Are you kidding?"
You're going to breed with that?
Again, that comes down to education. So there's, I've gone from standing on the sideline and going, "Oh my God, you idiot! How can you say that? We're using the word dominance." But you don't know what you don't know.
No, that's right.
Yeah, exactly.
If you've got people where the general consensus of dog behaviour and understanding of it was dominance, submission. They were the two columns that dogs were put in, and that was it. There was nothing else. There was not, "Oh, my dog is running towards that other dog with a high tail, ears forward, mouth firmly closed, heckles up." It's, that dog's dominant. Now, it doesn't, what does that, is that a personality trait? Is it just what the dog looks like? It's, what does that actually mean? But now with so many more behaviour analysts coming out, so like one that I love this woman. I have a girly crush on this woman, Dr. Susan Friedman. Hello,
yes,
Dr. Susan Friedman, behaviourworks.org, please, everyone.
Doing that course in January.
Yeah, learning about learning. Seminar that I went to this year with Dr. Susan Friedman and Peter Clark. And it is about analysing behaviour. It's not about labelling behaviour, because it doesn't give you any information. Oh, my dog's dominant. Over what? What does it do?
That's the thing, though. We've talked about this in episode 3, but nobody really understands what that term means.
Yeah.
Because there is, dominance exists, but like you said, over what? Is it dominant over an individual? Is it dominate a resource? Is it, like you say, is it a personality trait? No, people don't understand what it actually means. And in their world, if they're trying to dominate a resource, it's because they need it.
Yeah.
It's not trying to dominate the other individual.
Or the world.
It's dominance in context of something else.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got two dogs and there's one bone and one dog is standing over the top of it growling, is that dominance or is that just resource guarding?
Well, that's where we call it, in my mind, I talk about it as in situational dominance.
Yeah.
So that dog that maintains the resource will dominate the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But just that situation.
But that's the end of the conversation.
Yeah, and that's it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not that dog is showing that behaviour in that context, which means in general it's dominant.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's dominant.
No.
It means that in that moment it walked away with the resource that it tried to maintain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other dog is not submissive.
No.
But it did not want conflict.
Yeah.
So and did not want that resource enough to get into conflict.
Well, that's it. And the biggest, and I think this is the main thing that we were going to talk about, and it's my tagline at the moment, is behaviour is information.
Yeah.
You read behaviour, whether it's with a dog, a cat, or a human, and go, what did that animal do in that context at that time? And looking at the context, and I kind of say to clients, look at the context that that behaviour happened in, and take Polaroid pictures of that context and look at each independent thing that happens and is in that context and go, how does all of that cue that animal to behave in that way?
Yeah.
And how can you change that environment to help cue the dog to do something else?
Yeah. I think just to paint a nicer, not a nicer, bigger picture on that.
My picture wasn't nice.
No, it's great. I love your picture. I understand your picture. It's great. But one of the things that I think a lot of people probably don't, they've probably never even thought about, let's be honest, is the environment. So
No.
Yeah, it's very overlooked, isn't it?
yeah, so the internal, external environment. So the internal environment is how you feel, whether you're in pain. And every single part of your previous learning and what you're going through in that moment is part of it makes up your internal environment. That will all affect behavior. But then there's the external environment, and then that's where you are and those within it. It's like the simplest way I can put it.
Yeah.
And every single bit of it will affect your behavior. You'll change your behavior according to where you are and those within it, according to whether you're in pain, got a previous learnt association of something. Every single moment of that affects behavior. And we have this brilliant frontal cortex that allows us to gather huge amounts of information and normalize a lot of it. And then we forget that the dog can't do that. Their environment is much more present, and so they're much more open to change. So shit that we don't even notice, like something like getting up and getting a glass of water, we would not consider a change in environment. But for the dog, it's a random movement from an individual. It's going to trigger its nervous center. It's going to make it go, what? And
It is about, if you're going to analyze any animal, you have to look at the general health of that dog, internal and external. And as you said, what are the memories it has in that context? What is the learning history for that animal to go see that movement? So here's an example. I went to see a client on Saturday with a little dog that is human and dog reactive. And it's been that way for a while. Now, the dog has a bite history, but because it's a little dog, it's nothing.
It's always the way, isn't it?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
It's down to you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the owner, lovely, so I just didn't know. So we went through body language. We had him on lead, which obviously is going to heighten his behaviour with a stranger inside the house. So I sat there as still as I could. And I said to her, any movement I make, your dog is going to have a startle response. He's going to be reactive. She went, oh, no, if you just throw food. That doesn't always work, because his internal stress, even though there were moments where he paused, internally, what we don't see, there's still things happening.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people, again, because they don't know what they're looking for, he was doing little tongue flicks, his ears were forward, his eyes were wide, his mouth was so tensely closed. And I'm looking at this guy going, I'm so sorry, dude.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. And I just said, look, we'll have to finish because I just think he's just too stressed.
Yeah.
And I think there are alternatives. Well, you need to have a look at other things to help with his behaviour. But yeah, internally, this guy was screaming, get out of my house, get out of my house. Yeah. And it's not because he was being a dominant dog and being territorial or protective of his human. I freaked him out. I'm a genuine threat, and any movement I made, he considered to be a threat towards him. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's...
Like you said, like in that, just again, like, sorry, I cut you off earlier. You
so
were
rude.
I know, right?
That's what I have to deal with all the time.
What?
Nothing.
Quite a few.
There's vodka in that cup,
no, you were saying like that. The dog's behaviour is information, and when you break it down like the way you just did, and you can literally pinpoint it, like the closed mouth and the ears and the eyes and everything else. When you know what you're looking for, and so somebody listening to this, hopefully they go, yeah, that's really obvious.
My dog. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they do when I come into homes, and because that's predominantly what I work with is reactive, fearful, anxious dogs. And when I say to them, you know your dog, have a look, stop and look, don't label. So, something that Dr. Susan Friedman says is unlabel me. Don't label the dog, because they're words that then put a general consensus of what we believe the dog is doing, not feeling, is doing.
Yep.
And we're not taking into consideration how the dog is feeling. Feelings, they're something we're born with. They're survival. And when a dog feels and when a human feels, we respond to that feeling. And then what we do as humans, because we're verbal, we label it with an emotion.
Yep.
But if you think about feelings, just going back a bit, if you think about feelings and how we label them, again, we have to look at them in context. So if you think about it this way, you walk into a cake shop first thing in the morning. Smells amazing, right? So how does that make you feel, Si?
It makes me feel like hungry. And amazing. And
is your
just
mouth,
like my mouth's watering.
your mouth's watering?
I'm like, sorry.
Your tummy's grumbling.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So you get that grumbling tummy. Yep. Oh my God, walking in a cake shop. Yeah. Okay. Now think about a grumbling tummy in a doctor's office. Same feeling, different context.
Yeah.
You're waiting for the doctor to come back with some test results. Same feeling, different context.
Yeah.
So and the thing with us as humans, we have this conscious ability to rationalize.
Yeah.
And yet we still go see psychiatrists and take medication, even though we have that ability to sit down and go, okay, yep, the doctor could come back and it might just be that, I have low blood pressure or, high cholesterol, but not too high. But you're still feeling that feeling. With a dog, they respond to that feeling because they live in the now.
Yeah.
I feel, I respond, it works this way for me. So response is always for an outcome.
Yep. Yeah, there's no overthinking it and then suppressing your response to that feeling.
No,
The dog just is.
Yeah.
And, whether that is presented as, big erratic movements or big elaborate movements, not erratic, some are.
Can be, yes.
But it could be the really subtle stuff.
Yeah.
That dog that's just sitting there, like you say, that's sitting still.
That's still information.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I want people to look at their dogs with an open mind and look at them and go, no movement is is a lot of information, just as a dog lunging at the end of the lead. If you see a dog like Ivan just dropped.
Yeah.
He dropped to the floor. That was huge information. Now that I know, he was saying, I can't, the world's just too scary.
Yep.
I need to sit here, take in information and then process it and then choose what I feel I can do. So when I say to clients, we're going to reverse your dog's behaviour, what I mean is I want them to look at their dogs and go, I saw that lip lick.
Yeah.
I'm going to acknowledge that lip lick by moving them out of the space of the fearful thing, or mark them if the dog is able to understand what the mark is, depending on where their brain is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not. I don't want people to look for that big, oh my God, my dog's lunging. What were they doing before that?
Yeah. There's so many more
Lunging's
signals.
way too late.
Yeah. And it is when I explain different, body language signals, lip licking, yawning, paw raise, head down, head turn, ears up, ears back, heckles, even the carriage of the tail.
Yeah.
So many people think that a wagging tail is a happy tail. It's not. It's
The best description I've ever read on a wagging tail is, I am willing to engage.
Yeah.
So, on what level?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's, because we've got all these dogs that don't have tails, which makes it even harder for owners to understand.
And for other dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's it. It's, communication breakdown. It'd be like if I sat here and spoke to you in 3 different languages.
You probably could.
I could make up language.
Nailed it.
Did you understand me?
Every word.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's it though. We forget about that part as well. The breeding is, for a lot of dogs, has taken away that ability to communicate and a lack of ability to give information. With bulldogs, I always explain to bulldog puppy owners, like, I know your bulldog wants to charge up to every other dog. That's what they do. Try not to let them.
Yeah.
Because it is like taking a bowling ball and just rolling it at others. You know, they are the dogs of the world that have a plastic surgery and can't communicate. It's like, I'm happy. I'm really sad. Like,
It's so true.
I love that.
It
It's
really
so
is.
true. Yeah.
bowls in like this. It's like Tracy did a really good. Tracy Irons from AVBS. She did a great little one talking about Italian greyhounds.
Yeah.
She's like, their body language is all meek. They look really shy, but she's walking around going, "I'm having a great day."
Yeah,
Nobody knows. Like
Exactly.
But like that's just the way we bred them to look, and then all of a sudden, like you say, we label it, and you know. Then it brings around other issues. You know, people look at a big tense ball of muscle like a staffy and go, "Oh yeah, he needs a firm hand." Like bullshit. Like his brain works the same as other dogs. Like he doesn't need a firmer, softer hand. He just needs to be understood and listened to.
Well, and it's a really good point, because it's that kind of brings me to heated discussions I've had.
Yeah. You?
I'm so meek, and oh my god.
This is why we wanted Dom. This is why we wanted Dom in here, though. It's like doesn't mind an opinion. Normally a good one, though.
But I'm always, everyone's entitled to opinions. It's more that you have to be. You have to be open to listen to other people, because, opinions aren't right or wrong.
Yeah.
And there's so much knowledge and information for us to gather. You have to step back and go, okay, fair enough. But something that I will stand strong in terms of an opinion is using aversive tools. I'm sorry. I just, if I can go and work with a bear without putting a check chain or a prong collar on it, and I can get it to move from one end to another just by doing this and marking it, and I can get it to touch different targets, I can get it to open its mouth, then you should be able to work with a Rottweiler without putting a prong collar on it. And I have had discussions with people about, they say, it works. Of course it works. If you slap me in the face every time I step to the right, I would stop stepping to the right.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're teaching me anything. You're teaching me what not to do.
Yeah.
You're not teaching me what to do. And I think the confusion when it comes to the training industry is they say, yes, but it works. But we don't hit children anymore because we understand the fallout that has.
Yeah.
It's not about, but it works now. Of course it works now. But what trust account are you building? Again, Dr. Susan Friedman, build a trust account with your dog. Yeah. You don't, if you want your dog to respect you, again, dogs don't understand that concept, then teach it.
Yeah.
Teach it to be confident. Teach it to be a problem solver. Teach them to understand their environments and how their behaviours can positively affect their environments, and how they can be in control in scary environments. Putting a prong collar or even a slip lead or a check chain and poking and prodding your dog.
Yeah, it's not dog training.
No, I'm sorry. It's not.
And I think you said, like, you
tried it.
You were like, no, this is not for me.
Well, that's it. I mean, when people say, oh, the positive reinforcement force-free brigade, they've never tried using a check chain. I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. And oh my God, my stomach turned.
Yeah.
Every time I went like that, I was like, I'm sorry. So.
Yeah. Like, I've heard the term as well, like, positive reinforcement works until it doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I feel
you're doing it wrong.
I feel like, you're doing it wrong.
Sorry, you're doing it wrong. And there is so many. What was I reading last night? Reading a paper by Steve Martin and Dr. Susan Friedman.
We're gonna have to tag her in this.
I think you're going to have to.
Happy to. She's great.
Amazing
Yeah.
woman. And it was a paper where it was discussing, Steve Martin was talking about how he works with different animals. So he's worked with birds and zoo animals. And something he said, I wish I'd written it down. Yes.
She did write it down.
I did. Undesirable behaviour in an animal is the trainer's skill. Accept responsibility. they are your learner. You get what you reinforce. Okay, so if you're using positive reinforcement, if you're using whether it's markers or food or space or toys, you have to find out, one, is that the motivator for that animal at that time? Are there other things in the environment that are stopping that animal from engaging with you? You know, environments are reinforcing stimulus for a dog or any animal. So if you're trying to work with one and they're not engaging with you, take a step back. There's a reason.
Yeah.
So when people say, I tried using treats, but it didn't work, let's have a look at that.
Yeah.
You know, so many times you guys must get it too. You walk into a house and people go, my dog doesn't care about food. Really? Because it hasn't stopped eating since I got here.
Yeah.
And I had a client with like that last week, you know, a 15-year-old dog. They're 2 dogs. They've just taken in a new dog, a 6-year-old. And, you know, she said, he loves food. She's not interested. 2 hours, this dog was taking food from me.
Yeah.
So
It likes food. Yeah, this is it. And then when I look at it that way as well, like because quite often the dogs that I'm working with, we're normally trying to create calm behaviour. Nobody calls us because they can't get the dog excited. So a lot of the time, we're working with trying to calm the dog down.
Yeah.
So we don't. As much as I love training through play, it's actually more enjoyable for me to do that than training through food. I get a kick out of it. It's my fun. But a lot of the time when I'm working with a dog, I'm using food, and I'm actually using it as if your dog can't take the food, then something is wrong.
information.
Yes, there you go. The lack of.
Yeah.
It's the lack of taking the food.
Yeah.
That's the information. And so it's too close to the point of interest, whether that's a stressor or whether it's something that it genuinely wants to go to.
Yeah.
So if it's recall, oh, the dog won't come away for food. Well, you took it too close to the other dogs then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. And I was going to say earlier, like the dog positive reinforcement works until you flood it, until you put it in a situation that it can't take it doesn't choose your reinforcer. Like you said, accept responsibility.
Yeah.
Like our dogs are, their behaviour is a product of what we expose them to. And the rules around what we expose them to, well, there are none. Just listen to your dog and don't set them up for a fail. And if you end up putting them in a situation where they're not doing the desired behaviour, then take responsibility.
Lower your criteria.
Yeah.
And change the environment. Like, you know, that's why I say behaviour is information. And I say it to every single client. Behaviour is information.
Yeah.
It's not, your dog's not doing this to be a dick.
Nah.
Yeah.
They're really not.
Nah.
Humans, different.
Different. Yeah, that's right. That's that whole cognitive ability, though, because we will try to manipulate others' emotions. We don't really, shouldn't, but we can't necessarily actually help it. It's one of the reasons why we're sat here today, I suppose, if you really think about it. But
I want animals. So I have a rabbit. Imagine trying to put a check chain on my rabbit, or if I don't, but if I hit him because he didn't do the right thing, he'd just run off.
Yeah.
He'd be like, oh, bye, I'm out of here.
yeah, relationship broken down.
Yeah. And that's it. So it's all about trust. And even when other people come over, like if Ian comes over or friends come over, you know, he builds that trust with them. He runs over to Ian now and sits with him, and Ian pats him.
Sits on my chest. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's one of the best moments in life.
It's so cute. And, you know, he has actually taken me so long to train because I've got about 5 minutes of his time, and his stomach as well.
Yeah.
Because he gets full really quickly. And kale and banana.
Kale is king.
Yeah.
Kale is king. I
And
like that.
it's just taken time for me to train him. And I just always think of that. He's taught me so much about training animals and dog training, because you have to have the patience with him. And you have to build a relationship with him.
Well, you said it yourself there, Dom, a minute ago about building that trust bank. Like, when you're interacting with your dog, and when you're training your dog, it's a conversation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you go into it and you ask the dog to do something. It's not that's why I don't like even using the word obedience, because it's a shit word. Like,
Yeah.
if your dog's disobedient, all of a sudden it brings around the mindset that you must correct it.
Well, that's a
Or he's
label then,
naughty.
isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 So, like,
Stubborn.
you ask your dog to do something, and it doesn't. You're now in a conversation with the animal, and you go, right, you got to weigh it up. Like, how much do I really want you to do this? Because does it fucking matter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I am going to get you to do this, what are the factors that are making you not do it at the moment? What can I do to make this better? Do I need to create distance? Do I need to up the reinforcer? Do I need to slow things down around it? Do I need to be clearer? Have I practiced this enough in a quieter place to be able to achieve this here? So many variables, but this is the conversation you are now in because you chose to engage the dog. Don't tell the fucking dog off.
Yeah, but it's conversations that we have with our dogs every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something else I've started to and I suppose realise, but to say to clients is your dog's always learning.
Yeah.
Every interaction your dog has with you in their home environment and any other environment you put them in, they are learning something. It's not about taking that half an hour a day or, half an hour a week and training them and then expecting that the other however many hours that are in that week, that's going to change the dog's behaviour. Look at how they behave every day. What conversation are they having with you that you're missing? And then you turn around when the dog finally is screaming at you and you go, what's wrong with you? I don't understand. It's this constant dialogue that dogs are having with us that people don't know what to look for.
Yeah.
So it's not ignorance, it's just they just don't know.
No.
And I think
Well, that's why we want to get information out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. People don't know they're
give people a chance.
always learning.
No.
It's always that old dog can't learn new tricks sort of thing as well. I had a call the other day saying, I've got a dog. He's 6 months old. Do you think you can still train him? Like, is he trainable? And I was like, yes. It's like, he is trainable.
Imagine the dog trainer goes, no.
I'm sure there are some that do.
But even like older dogs as well, people are like, oh, is it still possible for training? I was like, yeah, definitely. They're
Yeah.
always learning. And I think people don't know that, as you said. So
And not only that, especially when you're working with stress-based behaviours. Is my dog too old to basically
Not be stressed anymore.
yeah.
You give it the opportunity, it's going to take it.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
going to take it. You
Yeah.
make it feel comfortable, and it's going to go, oh, thank God, this could have happened 10 years ago.
Well, imagine, the dog that had felt stressed in its entire life that stress response starts to dissipate. Can you imagine the relief that animal has?
Yeah.
We had, only Saturday, I had a client, 9-year-old Jack Russell Cross Foxy, and as soon as I walked in, I'm like, this dog was just full on, just moving. To the point where I was like, okay, well, we're just going to have to sit down and talk while this dog moves, because it wasn't moving with any purpose. It was just frantic. So we started talking about it, and basically just explained, like, this dog is now 9 years old. It has been carrying this for a long time. They did not know they did not know this dog any other way other than this. And they just went, oh, he's really energetic. I'm like, nope, he is really agitated and cannot stop. And it's not a case of like he wants to keep moving. It is, I cannot stop moving.
Yeah.
It's such a different conversation, because if you look in that dog's eyes, it is not present. It is not, it's like, as he comes towards you, he's just not there. He's like looking there and then there and then there. And he's not actually engaging with anybody. He's just information seeking from his environment so much. But then because he's so overstimulated, he can't even read the information he's getting.
But even with that behaviour, it's, doing that for 9 years, that's set a really strong neural pathway in his brain. So that repetition of that consistent behaviour changes the brain. And I think that's, again, where a lot of people don't think about. They don't think about the physiology of the brain and how changing behaviour or consistent behaviours that we as animals do lay down a pathway in that brain, and that's just what keeps happening. That's how we end up with habits.
Yep.
Yeah.
It takes 21 days for a human to change a habit. 21 days where you can sit there and go, I'm not eating sugar today. I'm not eating sugar today. And you can choose to not go to the cake shop. You can choose to not go to an ice cream shop. You can choose to not have a dessert. We're the ones that choose the environments we put these dogs in. So when we see dogs like that and we look at them and go, why are you like this? Why?
Yeah.
They don't want to be that way. As you said, that is their response that they have learned over time that works in some way, shape or form. Some way, shape or form.
It makes the dog, it's what it knows. And so it makes the dog feel like that. Okay, well, in that moment, the dog's nervous center's on. Its basic one goal is I'm stressed out. I just want to feel better, and it's still alive today. So every time it's practiced that behavior, it might not love it or anything like that. Might not enjoy that moment, but it will do it because it is still alive and it's worked in the past. So it's just going through its behavior loop.
Yeah.
It's like, and it wasn't a loop. It was water bowl, balcony, sofa, water bowl, balcony, sofa, dum, 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 and it was just going. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's just what he does.
But that's, that's like obsessive compulsive behaviours.
Yeah.
That's when people go, ball throwing. Dog loves it. It's repetitions, and it's a loop. It's a cycle that is self-reinforced. And people keep doing it. The dog loves it.
Yeah.
Until it drops of a heart attack.
My dog loves chasing the ball. I'm like, is it love or is it compulsion? Because can your dog not chase the ball?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've got a lot of clients where when I go to see them, and they say, well, we can only take the dog to the park if we have a ball.
Yeah.
And when we take the ball away, it gets into fights.
Yeah.
So that says to me that the one familiar thing in an unfamiliar environment is having that ball and chasing that ball. And when that's taken out of the environment, the world falls to bits.
Yeah, he's got no coping skills.
No. And that's when you get that reactive behaviour.
And way back when, I was having this, again, another conversation at the weekend, very similar. And from 9 months of age, this dog was, whenever taken to the dog park, was gravitating towards balls. And it was communicating back then. I am actively choosing to disengage the dogs and finding something to focus on. So it was communicating way back then that I don't like it here. Yeah. These other dogs, the other behaviour it was doing, and this is, I always find this one an interesting one, but it was whenever it was interacting with dogs, it was grabbing the collars and putting them on the floor.
Right, stopping movement.
It was overwhelmed. The other dogs in the park were moving so fast, and the dog's brain was going, this is too much, I need everything to stop.
Yeah.
Trying to stop all the other dogs became unachievable. And so then it just focused on the ball. And you watch that dog, as soon as the ball's out, it's like you pull the ball out, it won't blink for 3 days. Yeah. It's not present. And so you take that dog back into that dog park and, right, well, we're just exercising him and we'll run him around, try and tire him out. You're
You're getting a really fit dog.
Yeah.
That's super, super stressed.
Yeah.
And it's, like you said, grabbing the collar and putting it down. Like when I, see clients and they say, my dog's really dominant in the dog park, explain to me what that looks like.
Yeah.
He pins dogs down, and they'll even go for dogs that are running it at a distance away from them and pin them down. I'm like, your dog hates the movement.
Yeah.
Your dog is stopping the movement. It's not every dog likes dog parks. My guy doesn't like dog parks.
No.
He likes walking, engaging with me, engaging with the environment. He might see a dog, make a decision. They have a conversation from a distance. Sometimes he might look at me and go, I don't know what to do right now.
Mom, help.
Just like you and me, though. If, we're walking down the street and see somebody and they're like, hey, how are you? You might turn to your mate and go, he's a bit of a dick.
You might. Or, I don't know who that is. Can you go and introduce them because I can't remember their name.
Yeah, right. But you turn to your familiar.
Yeah.
And you get feedback from them, and then you base then you're in a conversation, and then whatever you do is based on the information you get from the individuals. Mm-hmm. Because that other individual might not like that response and might think you're being a dickhead, and other ones might go, made him uncomfortable, and try and make you more comfortable. You're in a so many variables. And that's just it. Like going back to what you said right at the start, trying to put them in categories of dominant or submissive is just not a hope of ever being able to understand what the dog was doing. It's so much more detailed than that. And it's conversation.
It is a conversation, but it just doesn't, it's not fair. It's not fair to the animal to just go, you're dominant, you're submissive, that's it. And then any behaviours they do outside of that, you just go, I've got to go see someone today, and the dog is biting one of the humans, and she said he's just being naughty, and I went, no.
Yeah.
How many times do you hear that?
Yeah.
He's just so naughty. He's just so stubborn.
Well, you would see a lot of that. So, I mean, doing the individual walks where these dogs, they're not suitable to the groups. So, you walk them and you see the changes in them.
Yeah, definitely. And they're not just naughty, and they're not just stubborn.
Yeah. Like Soph pulls the dog out of the group conversation and puts it in a scenario it's comfortable with.
Yeah.
Soph literally gets to see the dog firsthand change and just relax and give it a world it's comfortable with and enjoys.
Yeah.
Not every dog wants to go out on those group walks. And the dogs that do, good on them. Like, that's fantastic. But
yeah. And that's why I do it. And I've even said before, Like Dave from Dogster, he gave me Olive. He sent me a video and said she hates group walks. Can you take her on individuals? And like now I've built her up. She's in group of 3, and then even Kobe as well.
Yeah.
He wasn't loving it, and then he came to me, walked in by himself for a bit, and now he's in groups with other dogs as well.
Yeah, and even those groups, I mean, we do the similar thing with our team, and they're slow-moving groups.
Yeah.
Just because the dog, you know,
We take our
it's
time.
not about the other dogs necessarily
Yeah.
all the time. It's like just the lack of movement and stimulus that we expose it to. He can cope with his mates. He can cope with his 3 dogs around him, and in fact, he enjoys the company of the
Yeah.
other dogs, but he doesn't enjoy all the like if you put him in a scenario where it's full of fast movement, it's like, oh shit, he won't like his
It's too
mates as
much.
much.
Yeah.
You know,
Not everybody likes nightclubs.
no.
It'd
no.
be like taking someone who doesn't like nightclubs to a nightclub
Yeah.
and going, you'll be fine. Just have a drink. Don't worry about it. And they're going, I don't
Oh
love
my
it,
God.
I don't love it, I don't love it, I don't love it.
All these people.
All of these people, but all of that information being thrown, loud
Yeah.
music, you know, smell of alcohol and people bumping into you, and that creates anxiety.
That's me.
Even I enjoy walking them by themselves or walking them in a group of 3. I find at the dog park, for me personally, I'm like, oh shit, where's that dog? Oh God, I can't cope with it.
Yeah.
So I find it for myself, you know, more relaxing, and so do the other dogs as well. And they're able to read the other dog's body language a lot better. Whereas in the dog park, they're everywhere and running around.
Yeah. Like
So-
as a dog owner, you can look at yourself as well and go, do you know what? I'm really uncomfortable every time I'm in this situation, whether it be, you know, if I stop with my dog and I'm constantly worried about, like at a cafe, for example, constantly worried about people coming and dogs coming, or if I'm at a dog park and I'm constantly stressing because where are the others?
Yeah.
If you're finding situations really stressful, stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no rules. Like, just don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't go to dog parks because I don't enjoy them that much.
Yeah.
Number of reasons, but to be honest, I just don't enjoy them, and I've become more than okay with that. I've been joking recently. You won't find me in a dog park unless you pay me to be there.
Well, and it's an interesting thing because, again, you know, if we go back in regards to, you know, human expectation of their dogs, the amount of people that I do see that have that reactive, fearful dog, and when I ask them, what's your goal, for them to go to a dog park, I'm like, but is that the goal of the dog?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, will your dog be that dog that likes it? Archie doesn't like dog parks. He hates that screaming and yelling of conversation. He's the one-on-one dog that goes, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to play? Yeah, I'm going to play for like 2 seconds, then I'm going to bugger off.
And I'm done.
And I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not his thing. I did it, you know, I used to have him in my group walks, and then he was screaming at me. I hate this, Mum, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop taking me on group walks. And, you know, again, even as a trainer, I didn't see it.
Different because it's your dog.
I
Yeah.
know, I wasn't looking
Yeah.
at him from trainer's eyes, but still, it's, you know, even with the things with him, like he's been a huge teacher for me in
Yeah.
regards to the stuff that I do now, being, you know, the reactivity towards humans, which you helped me with.
Yeah, but
Well,
I stood still
Stood
while
still.
you did a fantastic job of training him.
but it's, you know, it took me, I made so many mistakes with him, but they were mistakes that I learned from.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it was where, you know, threshold. Where is your threshold? Where are you okay? How much can I actually do without flooding you?
Yeah.
And him learning, no, this is because he would learn this environment. I know what's coming. So there would become predictions of, I know what's about to happen. Even before I started training, and that's another thing I find with this is what is your dog predicting before you even start? What cues are we giving your dog, or what cues was I giving Archie that something was about to happen?
Yeah.
He's, you know, now he's so much better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's changed so much since you got him.
He's
Like,
a polar opposite dog. Like
Yeah.
he's, you know, he'll accept people that will pat him, even though please ask before patting a dog.
Jesus, yeah.
If I had
he's-
$1.
Yeah.
God.
I mean, he, you know, in the beginning he would bark and lunge at people's faces.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big lump.
He's a big ginger lump,
Yeah.
big beautiful ginger lump.
Big, beautiful ginger lump.
But it was, you know, he has this wiry hair on the back of his neck that people are always very intrigued by, and they just feel the need to touch it. Fly-by patters, we love them. And he would have that instant startle reactive response. Yeah.
So would I. So would I.
Imagine I just came up and hugged you from behind. You'd be like, what the fuck?
Can you imagine, someone walks up and kisses the back of your neck or starts rubbing your hair?
Let's start doing it. We'll film it. Start kissing the back of people's necks.
There's a really good...
I wish I got that bit on camera. I really do.
There's a short video that's done, and it's in England, of this is what it's like to be a dog.
Yeah, it's great, right?
And it's just this hand that goes around and pats people on the head.
That,
and it's clearly not staged, because you see the reactions of these people. Someone walking up and patting this bald guy on the head, and he turns around and goes, what the fuck are you doing? You would, right?
Yeah.
We have this thing that we think that we're entitled to touch another. You wouldn't do it to a lion.
Nope.
No.
You know better.
And people wouldn't do it to cats either.
No, we've had that conversation about
Yeah,
cats, haven't we? But even Boris, remember Boris, walk, he's a very unique looking dog. And a lot of people would be interested in him, but he was a bit reactive to humans. And I remember one day I was walking him, and this guy just went to reach out. And I said, oh, no, don't pat him. And he went, all dogs love me. And I was like,
that'd be a hero, mate.
no, he doesn't like humans. And he patted him anyway. And Boris was like, rawr. And he's like, oh, he's aggressive. And I was like, you just went into his space. I told you no, and you still did it. Like, that's how he's going to react. He doesn't like all people.
It's a pretty good way to create reactivity. Like, how many little
and all
dogs...
the work I did, and then he just went and undid it too.
Yeah, it's a blatant statement of, I don't care about how you feel, I'm going to go and do it.
Yeah.
And anybody that gets treated that way all the time, is going to think people are dickheads.
Yeah.
Well, I think, it's more education. We were brought up to, when you approach a dog, put your hand out for it to smell.
Yeah.
Now we know how amazing dogs' sense of smell is. You don't need to put your hand anywhere near that dog's face.
Yeah.
You don't walk up to a human, hug them and put your neck and go, smell my pheromones. Or put your armpits up, smell my pheromones. So there's no need to put your hand in front of a dog's nose.
Yeah.
Walk away, move away from that dog. Let them approach you. Because so many people have done that with Archie. I had a guy, the one of the worst experiences I had with Archie was a guy who just would not listen to me. He just kept saying, dogs love me. All dogs love me. Come on, mate. And, doing this to Arch. And I put him on lead and I was moving away, and the guy kept doing this. And I kept saying to him, please don't. He doesn't like people. He doesn't understand men. Can you stop doing this? And the guy came right up over the top of Archie and goes, come on, mate. And Arch lunged at his face, and my heart stopped, and I lost it at this guy. And then similar thing, he turned around and started abusing me for having an aggressive dog, where he had for at least 5-10 minutes continuously tried to touch Archie and engage with him. Archie was doing his best, bless him, to not rip this guy's face off.
Yeah.
And when Archie finally broke, he'd given all of his body language signals to say, please stop moving near me. He broke. He went, this is all I have to do.
Yeah.
So what happened in that? Archie learns that this is the intensity and this is the behaviour
to get him to stop.
Yep.
for me to keep myself safe.
That's it.
But, that guy, he wanted to be that one guy that, my dog loved.
But then
Guess
that
what?
affects you as well later
Hugely.
on. And that's what people don't understand is that one thing that guy did, and same to Boris. We went backwards in our training then. Because I was like, oh, shit, now I have to start again, because he was a man too. So when he started seeing men, he was like...
You never see women do it, do you?
You're going to touch
You
me.
very rarely see a woman. I mean, we say it all the time, like, men approach differently. We carry ourselves differently. Our body language is different. But you never see the woman come in and go, "Whee, how you fucking going, mate?" Like, get him right in their grill. Like, sometimes.
I really want to.
I know.
I'm that one that's walking down the street and giving up full eye contact to the dog until I see a body language signal where they go, no. I'm like, oh my God, I really want to.
It's true
Yeah.
though. Like men fuck it up for ourselves. We're like, oh, just get right in.
Rough and tumble.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think they just don't know.
No.
Yeah.
They don't know. And, again, you guys would have the same thing. You'd have a lot of clients who have dogs who are fearful of men. And we first go to, they must have been abused by a man.
Yeah.
And when I've come to clients who they've had the dog since puppy and they've never laid a hand on that dog, it's like, well, it's not, they don't need to be hit to be traumatized.
Or even just learnt association. So like one of the common things we see is so man and a woman living with the dog. Woman is gentle and soft and normal, and the man is being normal. But the man plays with the dog with his hands and roughs him up, and like not in like an aggressive way whatsoever, in a very loving, playful way. But the learnt association then of men is you're going to put your hands in my face, you're going to be high arousal, and I'm going to respond in kind. I'm just going to respond how I know. So then whenever we see it all the time where the dog's like, the owners are like, oh yeah, he just gets real mouthy with men, or like maybe he humps men, or just something that's less wanted with men. But that's because, and he's like, and the owner is always like, oh, I'm only playing with him. I'm like, yes, but you're also complaining. You made a phone call today because of this problem behavior presenting. And no, I know you probably don't want to take away that game that you love with your dog, and I know that your dog actually enjoys it. But this is where you need to weigh it up and go, what do I want to achieve with my dog? Do I want him to be able to go and greet men and not jump on them?
Yeah.
If not, then stop doing that game. If you after this conversation you realise that it is a non-issue, and you want to carry on playing the game, and you're not going to tell your dog off for doing it anymore, I don't care either. But make a decision and own what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that hard. Guys, we are going to have to wrap
Wow,
this
that went
up.
quickly.
I know, right?
We have to come back in, so.
Absolutely. This is fun.
I know, right? But love it.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thanks for
much.
having me. It's
for
I mean,
coming in.
I don't think we actually did a formal introduction. I mean, this is
No.
Dominic Hone of the Dog Brigade.
It's a Dom from the Dog Brigade.
Dom from the Dog Brigade. Yeah, I think everyone just knows me as Dom.
Yeah.
When people go Dominic, they go, "Who's that?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dom. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever
Jeez.
said Dominic.
No, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And what's your Instagram too, the Dog Brigade?
Do you know what this is? See, I'm really bad at social media. Just to let everybody know, I think it's the Dog Brigade or the _dog_ brigade.
Cool.
Yeah.
We're going to tag it.
Yeah, we'll tag it.
Nobody's going to remember it anyway. As in, like they're just going to see it, click it, follow it.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Most people just know me as Dom. They don't even know my company name. They're like, Dom.
You know Dom.
Dog Brigade. Archie, Dog
Camera.
Brigade. Oh, sorry. I'm looking there.
Hello. Brilliant.
Yes, Archie's on your logo, which is very cute. I love it.
Yeah.
Boy.
And so thank you
Thank
so
you, guys.
much
Thank
for coming in.
you.
It's
Pleasure.
it's brilliant. So yeah, we will get you back in because you're
Awesome.
somebody who's very knowledgeable on dog behavior, and we
thanks.
love hearing from you. So
Yes.
that's it for today, guys. And remember, healthy dog's a happy dog.
Woo.
Wow,
Man,
that
I just looked at the time and I was like, we could have kept talking.
we really could have did that. Was so it's really
Isn't
quite
it
easy.
fun?
Yeah, I love it.
Once you get going, it's a lot easier.
Yeah. Well, there's so much to talk about, and
Yeah.
you mention one thing, and then you
Rolls
go
onto
off
another.
into something else.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really cool. Thank you.
Coming in.
Pleasure. Now I can finish my coffee. Oh.
God, I hope we're recorded.
Are you serious?
No. You saved it. I think this is only the second time we use this software.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
That was great.
It was. Hi Hi there. I recently bought 2 male miniature sausage dogs. This one's for you, Soph.
God.
We are hoping to have someone come to our house to train our pups the basics, i.e. toilet training.
Are they little mates?
Toilet and hitting. I'm sure they meant humping, maybe. Our puppies are now 11 weeks old. Yeah, I won't be here. Do you want those?
They're little mates?
I'm going to guess they are.
Wait,
And they're male.
Send that to him.
Yeah, because...
I'll come though.
Yeah, I won't... Like, I go back to Brisbane on Thursday and I'm not back until after APDT, so... they need someone now.
Why do people keep buying fucking little mates?
I went to a house a couple of weeks ago with 2... It was male and female.
Yeah.
Miniature schnauzers.
Oh, cute.
Russell and Millie.
Russell.
And they were lovely.
Yeah.
But they were... Because they kept saying the female was submissive. I'm like, she's not. She sits back and thinks.
Yeah.
Because the male was like, he was saying just like, I'm like, he needs to settle.
Yeah.
What breed is it?
This one, miniature sausage dog.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, I'm going to send them to you.
Yeah. I'll come sit in.
Yeah. Because I don't have puppy school because obviously Frederick was running it. I need to find someone to... Because Paul at Wallara said he'd hold it. I thought that actually, because I went for a walk with Becky last week and I'm telling everyone about Frederick.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Because it's not bullshit and I have it in writing and I voice recorded him, so. Yeah, because Paul wants to hold it for me. And I need someone that, one, is engaged, knows what they're doing.
I can do it.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I haven't had any requests for mine, so...
I'm going to go in and see Paul tomorrow and have a chat with him and say, look, I'm going to bring Soph in.
Yeah.
Because he does get puppies through there, not as much as Bondi Junction Vet would, but, I either send them to you guys, and if you guys don't have a space to Tracy, it's stay.
Yeah.
Because I don't...
Finding problems with dogs coming out of her school, mate.
Yeah.
In what way?
They're just fucking excitable idiots.
Okay.
Like, she's like, I just don't think she understands bridging. She's just like, yes, fucking hell, mate, calm down. Like, the dog is fucking always crazy.
Yeah, I know people who've used her for reactive and, like, they've been working with her for years. When I say years, like 4 years, and the dog's no different. And they're medicated. Like, if you can't change your dog's behaviour when it's medicated.
Yeah.
And I've met the owner, and the owner's a bit mad, which is fine.
Yeah.
But she's so, Tracy's amazing and lovely and all that, and
There you
the
go.
dog's not
Change.
doing any better.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't have to come see me. There's plenty of good trainers out there, but if your dog's still doing this after 4 years and medicated,